Hi, my name is Beth and welcome to my 2026 reading journal setup. As much as I love my 2025 reading journal, I'm really excited about starting fresh in 2026. I won't have enough room in my current journal for another year, so I'm starting in a brand new journal from Notebook Therapy. This is their Berry Sweet journal in a B5 size. I knew I wanted to do a pink theme in 2026, and when I saw this journal, I knew it was the perfect choice. I've also decided to return to the B5 size this year. In 2025, I tried out the square notebook size from Archer & Olive because it seemed to be a very popular reading journal size, and while there were things I liked about it, I found myself missing the space in a B5 notebook. I tend to write a lot down for my thoughts on the books I read, so while I'm happy that I got a chance to try out the square size, I think B5 is the size that works best for me. I'm starting this journal off with my name page. I don't usually do anything too elaborate on this page because it's never one that I look at, but I decided to use this large strawberry frame sticker from Mary Ann So on Etsy to cover up most of the pre-written text on this page. I decided to take inspiration from the journal itself, and I have decided to go with a strawberry theme for my 2026 reading journal. I loved having the bright, warm colors in my 2025 journal, and I wanted to keep that up this year. And this is the first year where I have a reading journal that isn't blue or blue-ish, which is very exciting for me. This notebook really stands out on my shelf, but I'm happy about it. I've added some pink gingham washi tape to the center of the frame so my name stands out a bit more, and then I've added a printed cutout of my name on sticker paper to the center. I always stress myself out over the titles in a new reading journal, so I decided to eliminate some of that stress by just printing out all of the titles. It saved me a lot of time and a lot of effort. But with that, the name page is done. The next page is that weirdly bound page that always happens at the beginning of a journal, so I decided to glue the two pages together so it doesn't look awkward on the page, and I'm continuing the setup on the next page. On the left-hand side, I'm adding a little filler spread. In the past, I've always made this a quote page, something that highlights my thoughts on reading for the year, but I had this list sticker from Starjoy Studios in my collection, and I had no idea how to use it, but I figured that it might make for a good collage spread. So rather than adding a quote to this page, I decided to base this spread around that sticker. I started by adding a ripped piece of scrapbooking paper to the top half of the page. I also added a picture of a little strawberry plant to the center. I found this picture on Pinterest and thought it was the perfect fit. I framed the two corners of the picture with some washi tape, the same pink one from the name page and a thinner green one. Both of these tapes were from my local dollar store. On the right-hand side of the spread is where I'm creating my official cover page. This is also a spread that I don't look at often, but I like to include a place where I can establish which journal each one is, just in case I end up with a ton of journals in my future and can't remember which one is which. But I'm starting this spread off with a piece of neutral grid paper. I've been practicing my collage skills in 2025, but unfortunately they still aren't the greatest. So I wanted to keep this page on the simple side because I can easily make the spread too busy. Behind the paper are the same two washi tapes just to add a little bit of color. And then on the lower right side, I'm adding a little red frame that I got from Journal Say and a witch sticker from Starjoy Studios on top of it. The witch sticker is from their Strawberry Witch sticker sheet, so it felt like the perfect fit. In the top left corner, I'm adding the other witch from the sticker sheet. Similarly to the name page, I printed out my titles on sticker paper and added them to the page. This is where I made the first of a few mistakes. I accidentally wrote 2025 and I didn't even notice the error until like 5 spreads later. But luckily I did notice and I was able to change it, so you'll see that in the final flip through. There were a few additional stickers on this sheet to use, so I've added 2 of them on the other corners of the grid paper. I also added some large circle stickers behind them just so that they popped off the page a bit more. I ended up adding 3 other stickers to the left side, a jar of strawberries, a bunny in a bonnet, and a single strawberry. I wasn't going to do this initially, but I thought it would make the 2 pages feel more connected. But that is the title page complete. The next spread is my table of contents. When I decorate my reading journals, I definitely let stickers and washi tape do a lot of the decorating for me. I would say that I'm a creative person, but I'm not always the most artistic person. But I had a vision for this spread, and I really wanted to see it come to life. So the bulk of this spread's design is these strawberry vine borders that I created. I sketched everything out first and then went over it all with some paint markers that I got from my local dollar store. This was my very first time working with paint markers, and I was really nervous about using them. I was worried that they might bleed through the pages or take a long time to dry and smear everywhere, but despite these being dollar store markers, I was pretty impressed with how they performed. I considered just using Crayola Supertip markers, which are the markers I normally use in my journals, but I really wanted the colors of the border to pop, so I took a chance on paint markers. And I definitely feel like they achieved the vibrancy I was looking for. I added some white flowers to the border just to give it a bit of a change, as well as a couple of strawberries. I wasn't originally going to outline the strawberries, but because the flowers were outlined in black, I decided to also outline the strawberries and the leaves to make them stand out even more, and I'm glad that I did. And I used a super tip marker to highlight every other line, that way there's a bit more happening on this page. This one definitely took a while to set up, but I'm really happy with how it looks in the end. The next spread is my Days Read tracker. This spread allows me to keep track of which days I spent reading, even if it was just 5 minutes. This has been a tried and true spread in my reading journal, and I think it's because I take a very simplistic approach with it. There are multiple different ways that you can track your days read. Some people will color each day with a certain color to indicate how many pages they've read, how much time they've spent reading, or whether they completed a book that day. But for me, I only really care about if I read on that day or not. It can sometimes be challenging to keep track of my daily reading, so I find that keeping it as simple as possible is more effective for me, and I'm more likely to actually record my days read. But this spread consists of a large grid for every day of the year. I always like looking at my days read spread at the end of the year and seeing what my reading patterns looked like. I tend to read more at the end of the month, but it's also interesting to remember what was going on in my life at different times based on how much I was reading. I had been using my Tombow brush pen markers for this spread at first, but they ended up running out of ink while I was setting up this spread. Honestly, those markers don't owe me anything. They were the very first calligraphy markers I ever bought back in 2020, and they have survived 5.5 years of reading journal setups. They've done their job, and they will be missed. So I had to use my LePen Marker in 0.5mm for the rest of this setup, which is totally fine. For the additional decorations on this spread, these items will make up the majority of stationery I use for the rest of this setup. I'm using some scrapbooking paper that I got from my dollar store. Scrapbook paper can be so expensive, so I always try to buy it from the dollar store when I can. The strawberry stickers are from Mary Ann Sew, and there's a washi tape that I use at the bottom of the page from Washi Peanut on Etsy. It's this fun strawberry tape that I bought for the setup. I really like the tape, but I just found that it ended up being too busy on the page, so I did end up changing it, which you'll see at the end, but I wanted to shout it out in case you were wondering where it was from. All of the stationery stores mentioned will be linked in the description box below, so if you'd like to check them out, they're easy to find. On the right side, I'm adding my reading resolutions. This page is a spot for me to identify the yearly goals I have for my reading journey. These are different from my overall reading goal, which is only to read a certain number of books. These goals reflect the types of books that I want to read. I normally have this spread at the end of my setup, but I wanted to put them on a spread that I'm more likely to look at regularly. That way I can keep reminding myself of my goals more easily. This year I have 5 reading resolutions. Some of them are new and some of them are repeats. I'm using these little jam jar stickers to act as bullet points for each resolution. Only one of them is strawberry, but they're all fruit, and I've had them for a while, so I thought they would make a cute addition. My friend bought these for me from Redbubble, so I don't know exactly who designed them, but if I can find them, I'll link them below. My first resolution, which is my primary goal for the year, is to continue in at least one series every month. I've always included a series goal in my resolutions, but they've always been to complete a certain number of series. 2025 is the third year in a row that I have not been able to complete this goal, so I figured it was time for me to alter the goal itself. So rather than trying to force myself to finish series, I want to simply encourage myself to actively continue them. I'm in the middle of numerous series at the moment, and I'm hoping that I can be making progress in at least one of them every month in 2026. My next goal is to read more sci-fi. This was my primary goal of 2025, and while I am happy with the progress I made, there were still so many books that I wanted to read but didn't have time for, and I feel like if I don't try to make sci-fi a priority, I won't read them. My third goal is to read more classics. In 2025, I think I only read one classic and it was a reread, so I'd like to have a few more under my belt in 2026. I haven't attributed a number to these two resolutions because I want to be reading sci-fis and classics throughout the year, and I feel like if I assign them a number, I'll only read to that number and not make any effort after that point. Unlike my fourth resolution, which is to read 2 Stephen King books. This is a goal that I always have for myself. I have really enjoyed King's books over the years, but I'm not always in the mood for them. But I do own a lot of his books, so I try to encourage myself to keep making my way through his bibliography. And finally, my last resolution is to read from 5 new countries. I've been working on a Read Around the World challenge for the past few years, and I still have many countries to go. I count the countries based on an author's nationality rather than a book being set in that country. That way I can still include books set in fictional places or space. I'm using all the same stationery on this page as the previous one, except for a green grid washi tape that's from Ikigai Papier. But now these 2 spreads are complete. The next page is my 2026 reading goal spread. My reading goal for the year is 45 books. This has been my reading goal for the last few years now. 45 is just a number that works well for me. It's a number that feels like a challenge, but that I also know is attainable. There have been a few years where I've surpassed 45 books, but as of right now, I don't have an interest in increasing the goal because I think even striving for 50 books would feel like much more of a challenge. So until I consistently read over 50 books a year, I'm very happy at 45. In the past, I've always created little boxes to color in to track my reading goal. For 2025, I created honeycomb boxes to match my bee theme, and I wanted to continue that energy in 2026. So I decided to create a strawberry vine tracker. I'm fully aware that strawberry vines don't actually look like this, and my design resembles more of a grapevine, but I had a vision, and I just wanted to see it through. So I created this design in Adobe Fresco based on this strawberry vine tattoo design that I found on Pinterest, and created a tracker. I printed it out on printer paper and cut it out before gluing it in. This was a very challenging process. The vines were really flimsy, but I did eventually get it on the page. So every time I read a book in 2026, I will color in one of the strawberries. At the bottom, I have a spot to add in the date that I complete my 45th book. This is just a way for me to quickly see when in the year I hit my goal, especially since I won't add any more strawberries for anything after book 45. On the right page is my TBR. My 2025 TBR did not go as well as I wanted it to go, but I'm carrying the same energy into 2026. I've always had trouble completing my TBRs, so I'm once again only putting 12 books on the list. Even though I did not accomplish my TBR in 2025, 12 books still feels very possible, and I don't have as many big books on the list this time around. I like to build my TBRs on books that I already own, so 9 of the 12 are books I currently have on my physical shelves. I have a mixture of genres, lengths, and author races, but I also have a mix of time that a book has been on my shelves. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid and My Friends by Frederick Bachman were 2025 releases, so they're still pretty new. I've had Piranesi by Susanna Clarke and Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel on my shelves for a couple years now, but Release by Patrick Ness and The Giver by Lois Lowry are some of my oldest unread books. I've had both of them since 2017, and every time I unhaul books, I contemplate giving these two away. So 2026 is the year where I finally decide whether I'm keeping them or not. I've also made sure to include some sci-fi and series options in here to accommodate my resolutions, but with that, we can move on to the next spread. The next page is my bookshelfie spread. This is yet another spread that I've always had in my reading journals because I enjoy what it tracks and how it looks on the page. There are many ways to color in a bookshelf spread, from identifying which months you finished a book, what genre a book is, and your star rating of each book, but I like to color mine in based on the format of the book. I don't track this information anywhere else, so I like to keep it here. Keeping with my reading goal tracker on the previous page, I wanted the bookshelf to match the theme of the journal. I didn't want to repeat the same vine idea, so instead I came up with the idea to create a giant strawberry jam jar disguised as a bookshelf. I also designed this on Adobe Fresco and basically just made an elongated jam jar with the middle cut out. I've drawn in 3 black shelves in the middle directly on the page and drawn 45 blank book spines. When I finish a book, I'll write the title down on one of the spines and color it according to its format. Last year, I didn't have a ton of room to add in the book spines, so they were all really small. I made sure to give myself enough room this year to write longer titles and still have room to add extra books if need be. I fill in my shelves randomly, so if I don't hit the 45 book goal, there aren't just a bunch of empty books at the bottom, but hopefully at the end of this year, it will all be filled in. On the other page is where I'm including my key for the bookshelf. I've never done anything special with the key before because there's never really been a need to, but I decided to continue the jar imagery and have each format be shown as a jar. I was inspired by the various people who do potion bottles on their bookshelves to indicate the keys, just rather than potion bottles, they're jam jars. I use 5 categories in my key. Most people will do either 3 or 4, physical books, ebooks, audiobooks, and sometimes people will indicate if a book is a library loan. But I like to do 5 because I do a lot of tandem reading where I use an audiobook in addition to a physical or ebook. This just represents my reading habits a lot better than just having 3 options, and it also eliminates coloring in the book spines half and half. I decided to use the same border design for this spread as I did for the table of contents, but as I went to draw over my outlines, I realized too late that I had accidentally grabbed the wrong shade of green. I decided to just commit to the darker green even though it wasn't the right color, and in the end, I actually like how it looks. I think the lighter green would have looked good too, but I'm not upset with the darker color. I didn't include any strawberries on this one because I felt like they may have taken away from the jars, and overall, I'm happy with how this spread came out. I think I may still color in the paper lids on the key jars, but for now, this spread is complete. The next page is my series tracker. I've had a series tracker in my reading journals for a couple of years now, but this is the first year that I'm making it a full 2-page spread. I've only ever dedicated 1 page to my series because I don't read a ton of series. I'm definitely more of a standalone reader, but in 2025, I started a few new series that I plan on continuing, and I just didn't think that 1 page was going to be enough room. I'm adding 7 series to the left side, and that takes up the entire page, so in hindsight, I will probably need all the room I can get. I'm stamping in the titles of each series with my letter stamps. These are silicone stamps that I got from Amazon, and similarly to my Tombow markers, they don't owe me anything anymore. I've also had these since 2020, and they barely stick anymore. You'll see that I almost had an issue with stamping one of the titles because one of the letters fell off the acrylic block, but I was able to save it. I should probably replace these stamps, but for now, it's fine. I also used a stencil to create circles underneath the titles to show the number of books in each series. I've always done boxes for this, but I felt like circles fit better with a strawberry theme. The 7 series that I'm currently reading are A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, Dune by Frank Herbert, All for the Game by Nora Sakavic, The Villains Trilogy by V.E. Schwab, Harry Potter, The Moonfall Saga by James Rollins, and The Nameless Republic by Suyi Davies Okungboa. I will also be adding The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, but I hadn't finished the first book when I set this spread up. I'm coloring in the circles for the books that I've already read and crossing them out with black lines. I'm really hoping to make a lot of progress on this spread this year. I know that I won't finish all of these series, but some of them have their final books releasing in 2026, such as The Villains Trilogy and The Nameless Republic, so I'm really hoping to get through at least a few. And with that, the series tracker is complete. Next up is my alphabet challenge spread. This is the only challenge that I include in my reading journal. I've considered doing some other ones, but I've never landed on any other challenges that I want to include. But I enjoy doing this one every year. I've never completed it, and I don't think I ever will, but I have fun filling in the letters that I do accomplish. People do this challenge with book titles that start with each letter or with author names that start with each letter. I actually like to track both, so I use one page for book titles and the other for author names. I've used the same alphabet stamps as the series tracker to stamp in each letter of the alphabet twice. I also like to make the challenge a little more difficult by not including book titles that start with articles, such as the or a. Obviously, if you were doing this challenge yourself, you could absolutely include book titles that start with the, but due to the limited space on these spreads, I only include book titles that officially start with that letter. I didn't do amazing in 2025 with this challenge. I had lots of letters still left by the end. I don't go out of my way to complete all of the letters though, so I'm not that upset about it. I'm continuing to decorate with my same scrapbook paper, washi tape, and stickers, but now that this spread is done, we can move on to the final 2 pages. The second last spread is my 2026 book club reads. I have a little book club with a couple of my friends, and we read books together every year. The last couple years, we have not been reading very much, and it has been entirely my fault. My education really got in the way of my availability to read anything I wanted last year, but hopefully we can get through a few more reads in 2026 than we did in 2025. This spread will remain blank until the end of the year. I don't know how many books we'll finish, so I don't want to start adding things and then there be either too much blank space or not enough space. When I do fill this spread in though, I print off book covers and add them with my star rating. I also usually add a little box with some brief stats of how the year went, as long as there are enough books to have statistics about. I wanted to give these 2 last spreads the same vine border, and because I had a happy accident with the dark green on the bookshelf spread, I decided to use the darker green on purpose this time. Unfortunately, I had the opposite effect, where I don't think the dark works as well, and I wish that I had used the lighter one. I may go back and change it if I'm feeling up to it, but it's not the biggest problem in the world. It still looks fine if I decide to leave it. The final spread on the right is my books hauled spread. I use this page to document all of the books that I acquire throughout the year, whether they be purchases of mine or gifts. This is a spread that has gotten smaller and smaller every year since I've had it. I'm really happy to say that I've been far more conscious about my book buying habits over the last few years. I'm a frequent user of my library, which has been so beneficial for my reading. I get almost all of my audiobooks from the library, which has saved me a lot of money. I also think I've been making better choices about reading the books I already own. I acquired a relatively small amount of books in 2025, and I read about 80% of them. There are 30 spaces in the chart I've made, and I hope that I don't exceed over half of the space. In the chart, I've added space for me to write down the title of the book, the author, and the date that I obtained it. I didn't have room to include the author's name last year, so it was nice to be able to add that back in. And I don't include the cost of the books because I don't want to be aware of the price. I've added some more paper, washi, and stickers to the spread, but with that, we can get into the final flip through. This is my 2026 reading journal. I'm so happy with how it came out. There were a few moments where I wasn't sure if I was liking the process, but I eventually came to really like how it looks. It definitely feels like the most artistic journal that I've set up, and I think that's really exciting. 2025 isn't quite over yet, and I am looking forward to the final books that I'll be reading, but I'm definitely excited about starting a new year of reading with all of you. I'd like to know if you also have a reading journal or if you're planning on starting one, and if you have any recommendations for me for 2026, I would love to hear them. I'll have my completed 2025 reading journal video out in the new year, so look forward to that and my final 2 monthly updates before the end of the year. If you're interested in checking out my previous reading journal setups or any of my monthly wrap-ups, I'll leave a playlist in the description box below and in the cards. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.